Ravager is the newest member of the Aethermancer crew with a signature trait called Cursed Blood, which states, for every 10 critical or wild damage dealt by allies, apply 1 bleed to target enemy. Bleed is usually a very difficult status ailment to stack, but it compensates by dealing damage equal to double the stacks in wild damage. So, what happens when we focus on it? We jump into a heroic run and get a massive selection of partners to choose from. I wound up picking Shifted Wormling because it stacked Force, which guarantees critical hits, which feeds into Ravager's Cursed Blood, which means more bleed. Myrn is one of the best NPCs to see in the first area, as you can get a cheeky level up from her just like you see here. If we had chosen a terror support, I would consider Nightmare here, but we don't have nearly enough to capitalize on terror at the moment. Base Ravager literally cannot proc Sleight of Hand, so that's a no-no. Critical Hybridization is the no-brainer option here. It naturally contributes to Ravager's Cursed Blood, while also shaving off poise from anyone, and we have ways to force crits with Wormling. The first 2 battles go by without much difficulty. These two work pretty well together, and we're able to pick up some easy experience and levels. For Ravager, we're not going for dodge, we're going for kill. Wormling's was a tough one, but only between Reinforce and Cruelty. Sorry, auto heal. Cruelty is a much needed battery for Wormling to really take off, but we also are sorely lacking defensive options. I went with Reinforce because it gave us just a slight bit more survivability. We go to grab our third partner, and honestly, there's too many good options here, so I went with Random and got Totzel. He'll provide some nice damage and also pretty consistent crits, and thus more bleed. The only problem is that this team is frail as heck, but we won't really have to worry about that until the second biome. One of the great things about having a level 3 monster by this point is that your newest recruit gains a level immediately. I don't think I need to explain this one, we're all in here. While trawling for more battles, we're blessed with a Shifted Katzerker. This guy is pretty dang rare, and I haven't caught him yet. I easily stagger him with Totzel, and ooh, if I crit twice here, he would have died. I grab Katzerker and stun Orthrus. In my opinion, with a frail team like this, going for as many staggers as possible is the best defense you can ask for. We have so much active and passive damage that we can basically expect frailer monsters to go down the turn after we stagger them. The rest of the battle is a pretty clean sweep. We immediately get into the 5th battle against the dreaded Totzel Ooze combo. These felons can stack massive amounts of poison on you in like 2 turns, so you should probably fix that. Thankfully, we got the right tools for the job. Ravager's missed attack staggers Totzel, and our own Totzel's Toxic Slash staggers Ooze. This does mean that Ooze will deal pretty big damage to all of our allies with its passive, but that's okay, as it can't inflict corruption with that. We sweep up in the next few moves, and gain another level for Wormling and Totzel. Volcanic Essence is pretty much exactly what we were building up to with the Reinforced choice from earlier. Now we have a massive party heal that'll likely apply power to Wormling, who can distribute it to other teammates with their passive. For Totzel, this choice is a little bit more up to personal taste. Chain Lightning has massive single target damage, while Slime Volley is good AoE with plenty of chance for critical hits. I think Ravager has the AoE covered, so I settle with Chain Lightning. I go into the 6th battle Bright of Eye and Bushy of Tail, only to find out that Reinforce only applies to 1 monster in the team. That is unfortunate, but oh well. Ravager levels up and gets to pick another passive. These are all great. Wild Fear gives us even more stagger potential, while Critical Bleed guarantees more bleed stacks. But wow, Dread and Gore is just absolutely insane. With Hailstorm as a starter, it's a self-sustaining engine by its own rights afterwards. I'd be nuts to pass this up. We get a cheeky level up for Totzel through the power of capitalism. Hunt, please, next. Sadly, we didn't get the Ravager showdown this time around. For those who aren't aware of how to get Ravager, he actually shows up as an alternative boss for this fight. In round 1, we immediately stagger the poor fellow with basic attacks while Wormling sets up Volcanic Essence. Round 2 is also pretty straightforward. We bring Warden down to half HP and he gets to reset his poise. Round 3 has Wormling using Volcanic Essence again. Totzel uses Chain Lightning to strip 8 whole poise from Warden. We unfortunately didn't have enough ether to use anything but a basic attack with Ravager, sending Warden down to 1 poise, which of course gets stripped by bleed and poison. Totzel takes a big hit, but that's not a huge deal as we're looking to finish this pretty soon. I had Wormling use Holy Breath on Totzel in order to save him from death and give him 4 stacks of force. This lets Totzel wail on Warden with 4 crits in a row, blasting him with poison and bleed stacks galore. I used the Void Crystal artifact I picked up off record so Ravager can use Wurmling's Hailstorm, which doesn't really do that much. Round 5 is a breezy send-off. 50 HP is nothing to us. With the massive experience gains from a boss, both Wurmling and Ravager level up. I really didn't know what to do here. This would have been a great opportunity for a reroll, but Magnus hit is it's okay enough, yeah? It's an extra hit, so that's free damage. Granted, we don't attack a lot with Wurmling, but, well, you'll see. I wasn't enthused by these choices either. I thought Doombloom would have been a good option since it was free, so I went with that. Honestly though, Ravager is fine as is for now. Now, I normally don't give a breakdown on the equipment I use unless it's super important. I usually find it a bit too simple, as it's usually like more damage, more defense, more healing, etc. But Lance? No, that is an item worth celebrating. Lance converts the first hit of an attack to wild damage. This normally helps with stripping poise, which is great by itself. With Ravager though, it translates to accelerating bleed stacks, and better yet, it works on the entire first hit of an AoE attack. We're into the second act, and our first battle is against Grimoire, Volper, and Soup Boy. Anytime there's a Grimoire, I target it first. This fight highlighted one of the last issues with this team: ether management. We have all the tools available to destroy just about any combination of enemies, at least in this biome, but we can't quite use them when we want. If only I could get some kind of ether boosting action, then we'd blow the run wide open. Well, shoot. This is the best action ever on its best user ever. Wurmling's passive generates a temporary power stack when he uses a support action. Provided we have one temp power, we can use this every single turn with no drawback. Plus, we have a scepter as his equipment, which generates even more temp power. This, well, it solved our only issue. In the 9th battle on round 2, we can see the power of adding a ton of wild ether to the pool. Wurmling sets up Ravager for a huge long slash, which absolutely tears through the enemy, stacking tons of bleed in the process. Even when we don't get ideal ether conditions on turn 1, we usually have some method of shutting down at least one enemy. In this case, we just kill them, which nets Ravager another level. All of these are different flavors of terror synergy, and I don't think any of them are bad. I do think Panic was the most efficient in this case though, as we were going to constantly proc it thanks to Ravager's Lance and Bleed and Terror. This will feed into Dread and Gore as well. After the next battle, we bring home another level for Wurmling and Totzel. We get Cruelty offered again, and that's just about the best thing we possibly could have gotten. This will transform Wurmling into a buff-generating machine, and it provides an immediate temp power to sacrifice to transmutation. It completes the engine. Wurmling has essentially been perfected for this run. For Totzel, Plague is great for a different team. Both Sleight of Hand and Critical Bleed are great options here, but it's moments like these where we must remember why we're here. In the 12th battle, we realize Wurmling's full potential. Even on round 2, this guy goes from full support to complete nuke as he stacks up an incredible amount of force and temp power. On top of that, he spreads the love by giving those power stacks to his teammates. Double Grimoire is always threatening. The guy in the front is going for a wild ritual, which will single-handedly satisfy half of their signature traits requirements. Taking 2 hits from both Grimoires is not something even the tankiest of monsters can take very well. But also, we see that nothing really matters. This team is so powerful that we were able to kill 2 enemies in one turn, and the last one folded instantly to our support monster. But how does this team stand up to a boss? Starspawn's gimmick forces you to play conservatively in order to avoid its devastating attack, Starbeam. Shifted Starspawn has extra abilities that supply it with wild ether, making Starbeam inevitable. That's cool and everything, but check this out. Now, the third biome is usually really tough, but that is absolutely not the case for this team. I don't think a single battle lasted beyond round 3. So instead of boring you with each fight, here's some of the cool moments throughout the biome. Now we're up against Hecken Chonkers. This guy basically takes the pain points from Warden and cranks them up a notch. He constantly shuts down your offense with weakness and then massively scales with age, thanks to his passive 100-handed. Let's see if this team can shut him down before he gets there. Round 1 is the bread and butter, juice up Ravager, and he almost staggers Hecken on his own. Round 2, we utilize Volcanic Essence on Wormling to get more power stacks flowing. We manage to interrupt both of Hecken's attacks, but that can be a little problematic. You see, bosses have extremely high energy return on basic attacks. If they're attacking twice in a row like Hecken is here, then you're basically guaranteed to get hit by 2 massive attacks the following turn. And round 3 sees this as reality. Not only does he have a powerful single target ability, but he's also using Soundwave. Realistically, we can only interrupt one of these attacks, and that's through Stagger. Normally, I would have waited for next turn to distribute the power stacks, but we were about to get slammed with weakness stacks, so I decided to pull the trigger and go all out. Fire Dash distributes a fat 12 stacks of power to Ravager and Totzel, paving the way for massive damage this round. Thankfully, Totzel staggers him and Ravager gets some decent damage, but it wasn't nearly enough. Round 4, we managed to interrupt Hecken's first attack with Ravager, and Totzel puts in some good damage. However, the cost was too great. I needed to interrupt Hecken's first attack to survive this turn, which in turn required Ravager to crit. So instead of using Volcanic Essence to heal everyone, I used Holy Breath on Ravager. Now Totzel is half HP and about to get absolutely slammed. I really should have used Holy Breath on him instead. The worst comes to be realized. Hecken is at 3 age stacks, which charges up his passive. Not only that, but the interrupted attack went straight into Totzel, which is something I wasn't paying attention to. Thankfully, Totzel gets revived through the meta progression passive, and the minions attack Wormling and Ravager. This was dicey. I almost threw this perfect run with one mistake. That's just how dangerous Hecken can be. A little worse for wear, we mop up the boss and head on towards the final fight with Chernobog. At the start of every round, Chernobog will corrupt one monster per hand he has active. Then, if a corrupted monster uses Ether, they take on a lot of corruption, which feeds into his second gimmick. Thankfully, he didn't target Ravager here, so we just use Long Slash, which goes a long way in stripping poise from both of his hands. Finally, Totzel takes down the blue hand, so we only have to worry about one next round. We take the other hand down with Long Slash, and Wormling starts to set up. We also managed to stagger Chernobog on round 2, which led me to learning something new. At the end of round 2, Chernobog sucks in all of your team's corruption, healing for about 3 times the amount. He summons a copy of each teammate he sucked up, and their health and poise is dependent on corruption. What I learned was that he also cleanses himself of stagger, so there's no point at all in staggering him unless you really want to block one attack. Beating these fakers is no trouble for this team though, as we're packing powerful AoE with Ravager. Now, Chernobog has almost 900 HP left, so you'd think we would have a long fight ahead. Check this out. I think we can confidently say there's a reason why Bleed is hard to stack. We knocked out Chernobog in 4 rounds, which I think is the fastest I've ever done it. I'm curious, what was the fastest you ever beat Chernobog? Also, I just want to remind everyone that Aethermancer is launching a huge update on March 19th, where they'll introduce a new class to play as. It looks absolutely nuts, and I look forward to checking it out alongside all of you, which you should subscribe if you want to see that. If you're jonesing for more Aethermancer content right now, I have some other videos like this you can check out as well. That's enough yapping from me. Goodbye.